All right, Chantal.
Yes.
Chantal, where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Salinas, California, but I grew up in Bakersfield. I moved out there when I was 10.
What was your family like?
My family, so I had my dad and my stepmom growing up. I lost my real mom when I was 10. And so basically my dad and his wife were the ones raising us.
How'd you lose your mom?
She was sick, so yeah.
And how would you describe your childhood?
My childhood was, it was good. It was, I went through some stuff, but I didn't let what I went through, I wouldn't say that I had a bad childhood because of it, but I did go through a lot of stuff that a lot of the girls that, are on your channel say that they go through, the abuse and stuff.
You're closer to your mom or your dad?
I'm not really close to both. I was more close to my grandma. Yeah.
She stepped in when your mom passed away?
Yeah, well, she was always in the picture because my dad would always travel for work and stuff, but yeah, she was the one that held it down whenever my dad wasn't present.
What were you like in high school?
I was kind of bad. I was really curious, and my dad and my stepmom are really strict, so I feel like that kind of just made me even more curious and made me want to, just go do more just because they were trying to stop me from living a certain way. So it just made me want to live like that even more and chase all the things that they were trying to keep me away from and whatnot. But yeah, I was kind of bad.
You graduated?
Yeah, I did though.
And after you graduated, where'd your life go from there?
So after I graduated, I actually, I moved back up north with my grandma for a few months. And I had actually signed up for college and was going to go to college, but I just didn't. And yeah, I was out there for a few months just working. I was working a regular job, and I decided that I wanted to move back to Bakersfield. I missed my siblings, I missed my friends, I just missed my life. And so I moved back to Bakersfield, and I wasn't living back at home anymore with my parents. I had already moved out. And I really didn't have anywhere to go. And so I started stripping. I was still working a regular square job, but I started stripping, and yeah.
How long did you work at the club?
I was only there for a few months, actually. Probably 6 months.
And
that was the introduction to craziness.
Which is?
I basically got introduced to the game because I was, dancing and stuff. But then I stopped stripping because my parents ended up finding out. And even though I was already grown, they still, they were so strict that they made me move back home. I left my apartment. I left, obviously, my job. I left everything behind. I didn't have anything. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. And so I moved back home, and then I found out I was pregnant, and my whole life changed, but for the greater.
But you started working as an escort?
So when I was stripping, that's when I got introduced to it, yes. But that wasn't something that I was doing all the time. It was just here and there, if that makes sense. But
how long were you doing that kind of stuff?
That was very short-lived, well, at that time. So then, how I said, I got pregnant. I completely changed, my whole entire life. I went full-blown square bear. I was basically a stay-at-home mom, playing housewife, and, raising the babies and stuff. And then my children's dad and I, excuse me, we decided to go our separate ways. And, our breakup at first, it wasn't easy. We just both went and did our own thing, and I was kind of left with the bills. I had this man taking care of the bills, I had him taking care of everything, and then one day all that just stops. And so, I had to go make it happen, and I had to use my resources and what I know and that's when I just like kind of dipped my foot back in the game and, just did it whenever I needed to. It wasn't like I was just out there like full-fledged, But, yeah.
And you've been doing it now for how long since then?
So I did it off and on for a few months, and then I really just stacked all my money. Like, I told myself I didn't want to do that for so long, so I was just going to stack my money. And I did that, and then that's when I got hit with my grandma passing away. And so I was just like in a really dark space. And so I was just glad that I was focused for those few months and stacking my money, because I wasn't able to go out and make any money. I wasn't even worried about talking to anybody. Like, I was just in such a dark space that I couldn't do anything for myself. So, I was basically living out of my savings for 2.5 years. Yeah.
Mm.
But at the same time, like, those 2.5 years were very necessary for me, like my growth, my just everything.
And your kids?
What about them?
You were raising them the whole time?
Right. Well, I mean, their dad was still in the picture, so, we would take turns and stuff. Whenever they would go to their dad's, that's when I would go and, do what I had to do and stuff.
How do you feel about doing that kind of work? Some girls like it, some girls just deal with it.
Right. I used to hate it. Like, I really did used to hate it. But I realized it was because of the way that I was approaching it and the way that I was basically, like, just doing it. Like, back then, I just was so reckless and, was doing anything for money, whether that be, like, it's just, living too fast. And then when I took those 2.5 years off, I really went through something I've never been through. It was really deep. I went through like this spiritual awakening almost. Oh, not almost, it was that. But I went through like the spiritual awakening, and I just realized that I was living wrong. Well, the way that I was like approaching that lifestyle back then, I was approaching it wrong. And I realized that if I was going to do this type of work, I was going to have to approach it with a different, approach it differently with intention, approach it in a way that even though, like, this work is frowned upon or whatever, I could approach it in such a way that I wasn't going to be dealing with, like, all the other bad stuff that I used to deal with, or, like, I wasn't since I wasn't moving bad, I wasn't really attracting bad. But that doesn't mean that things still don't happen to me just because I'm not out there, like...
What kind of things have you learned?
I've learned a lot. Things that school can't even teach you. But yeah, I've learned that it's all about intention. If you're out there moving, and this is just with everything in life, if you're out there just moving with the wrong intention or no intention at all, you're just doing it just to do it or just for like the fast money, you're not going to get anywhere. And if anything, like that money, you're not even going to see that money. If you're out of alignment, you're just going to not have any sense of control with it. I've been there. But yeah.
And you've saved money over
I
the
do.
years? You have?
Yeah, I do.
Drugs were not a part of your life?
No. I mean, I smoke weed, yeah, and I do shrooms here and there, but like other drugs, no.
Yeah, the heavy addictive drugs are what can take you down.
Oh yeah,
Even if you're making a lot of money.
Yeah, I have seen that firsthand. I am going through that actually with my brother, like, and his, drug addiction. And yeah, it's really hard. I've seen my brother's life like drastically change right in front of my eyes. And yeah, it's really crazy.
So you learned a way to play this game and do it intelligently?
Right. I feel so. Yeah.
And that makes it safer?
It does, but like I said, that doesn't mean that I still don't go through stuff out there. Like, I've been through stuff. Like, actually, just 2 weeks ago, I'm not gonna get too into detail, but I got robbed 2 weeks ago, and that was another moment. I haven't had anything really bad happen to me since I got back in the game last year, but this was like the first situation that really had me like, damn, why am I even doing this still? Like, I kind of just want to be done. But then you realize, like, as messed up as it sounds, like, that's just what comes with this lifestyle. Like, you could either accept it or you could just get out. But
There's not a whole lot of jobs where you're going to get robbed like that.
right. But then again, you know what? I don't take it as an L. I just take it as a lesson. I know, what I have to do now. I am already super precautious, but, sometimes you kind of just slip up a little bit. And, yeah, but I definitely learned. But, I mean, we're all going to go through things in life, not just because you're in this lifestyle. Like, of course, you are prone to go through more things. But, yeah, I just like to look at it like, you know what? It is what it is.
May I ask you how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 27.
27.
Yeah.
If you had your life to live over again, what would you have done differently?
Honestly, nothing. Nothing at all.
All those mistakes you made were just part of the learning process, right?
Right. I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, even the bad. Like, everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I don't regret anything. I feel that, everything that I went through is what made me the woman that I am today, and I'm really proud of the woman that I am. So, and I know I'm only continuing to, get better and learn more and just elevate myself. So, yeah, I don't regret anything. I love my life.
Emotionally, what do you go through doing this?
A lot. A lot.
Is it hard?
That's one thing that I'm not going to hide.
Is it hard on a woman?
It is, of course. Of course. I would say that back then, even though it was hard and it would affect me, I feel like back then I was just so cutthroat and like really didn't give a damn about anything, to the point where I was just like, whatever. Even when the bad would happen, I would never take time to really like sit down and evaluate everything and really like pay attention to, okay, what can I do different? Why did this happen to me? What could I do to not let this type of stuff happen to me, in the future?
I mean, everything we do in life, you pay a price for.
Right.
What are the prices you pay for doing this kind of work?
The prices that I pay, I would have to say, is I deal with a lot, like with my family, like my parents, my dad and my stepmom still, because they don't accept what I do. They are not in favor of this type of work or this lifestyle. Like, they constantly are like begging me to stop, so I have to deal with my family being hurt, my family always constantly worrying, sending that like energy to me, when I don't want to deal with that. I want people to just like support me no matter what I do, whether I'm, a brain surgeon, whether I'm an escort, whether I'm, working at NASA. It doesn't matter. I just want my family, most importantly, to just support me. So that kind of sucks, like just dealing with that, And also, like, just eventually that my kids knowing that, I'm doing this. But at the same time, I'm such an active and present mother that I'm not even really worried about my kids ever looking back and being like, wow, that's some crazy shit that our mom did, because I still handle business.
A lot of people feel it should be legalized.
It should.
And that might take the stigma away from it.
Right. I think that it should. I mean, you'd be surprised who are the ones out here, buying pussy. The ones that are making these, what do you call it? Just all the laws and everything. The politicians, those are the main ones.
Really? A lot of your clients are married, I take it?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learned about men from doing this kind of work?
A lot.
It's my favorite question. I ask it a lot.
I've just learned that, as messed up as it sounds, like I cannot ever fully trust a man. I mean, anybody, to be honest. But a man, yeah. Because a man can be sitting in his wife's face every single day, take care of the bills, take care of the family, do literally everything. Like, and he could still be in my hotel room paying my bills and, you know, doing what we do and go back home to that. That's disgusting to me. Like.
But what's your dream? Is it to find a sugar daddy that will make your life easier?
Of course. I feel like deep down inside, I feel like that's every hoe's dream. To just find like that security, but like somebody that, how can I explain it? Like, I don't want to I don't want to ever get married, or like, I of course don't want to fall for a trick ever, but I mean, if I meet somebody that I genuinely like form a deep connection with and we're on the same page with a lot of things about life, and he's bringing me security, like financial and emotional security, why not? Like, why not? Plus, I don't even like to like, I don't know. I don't like to really like think too much ahead, if that makes sense.
This kind of work, I assume, must impact your personal relationships.
Right.
Have you had boyfriends at all?
I have. You'd be surprised. Like,
guys will accept that this is what you do when you're not with them.
So many men. Like, you'd be surprised at what men are willing to put up with just to, like, have a woman in his possession, whether that be, like, even having to pay for pussy or even having to, you know, deal with a girl busting dates or having her, you know, tricks on the side, whatever. Like,
having your phone blow up all through a date.
Right. I can't.
And knowing every one of those calls.
Right. I can't do that. Like, I'm done. Like, I don't date anymore. Like for fun and love and all that, I don't do it. Like, while I'm doing this type of work, I have to stay focused on this only, because once I start letting all that other stuff come into this, it just becomes a whole mess. It throws everything off. I'm out of alignment. I just can't be dealing with that type of stuff. Like, I'm on a mission right now, and I'm sticking to my mission.
But are you addicted to the fast money?
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be hard to just quit this and become somebody's wife and not have money being part of the transaction, right?
Right. I don't think I'll ever become somebody's wife. Well, not in my near future. Maybe, like, you know, later, but yeah.
But I would think once sex and money become connected, which they have in a working girl's life, mm-hmm. I would think that becomes very difficult to stop.
Yeah, it is.
And just start having that kind of relationship with a man where you're not getting taken care of very well.
Right. I can't even do it anymore. Like the times that I did stop doing this, and I'm like, you know, I'm just gonna not do this anymore and just live a regular life. You just can't go back to that. Like, once you've been introduced and experienced this, you don't go backwards.
What's your biggest fear now?
This sounds crazy, but I don't have any fears. None, absolutely none.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you always been that way, or is this something you've developed through years of being on the streets or not on the streets, but you're...
Right, I was about to say, no, I'm not a street stomper.
Yeah, I know that.
But, which, no disrespect to any of the street stompers. I respect everybody.
No, but what you're doing is closely related to that.
Right.
Strangers are coming.
Right. I've been out on the out on the track before, so I can't even knock it.
When you're working as an escort or on the track, either one, you get addicted to the money, and,
right.
And that just becomes hard to pull away from, right?
Right.
It's got. I mean, you're doing this for your kids, right?
Right, of course.
That's is because you have children that you're doing this? Because if you didn't have kids, you think you'd still be doing it?
Actually, I would. I know that I would.
You would?
Yeah. Just because this is not somebody that just anybody can do. So I feel like if you're equipped to do it and, your mental is strong enough for you to do it and you actually willingly want to do it, why would you not? Like, this is the perfect way to get you ahead of life. Like, this is a perfect way to bring you freedom when it comes to time, when it comes to so many other things. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time stopping this to go work at
a 9 to 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening. And plus, I can't even work a 9 to 5. I homeschool my boys, and so there's not even no room for that. Like, the reason why I homeschool them too is because I just don't want my children's upbringing in the hands of somebody else, especially people that I don't know. And I feel like nowadays, just the things that they're even teaching our kids in school, you have other kids who don't have the same proper upbringing as your kids. So, throw them in the mix of 100+ kids that you don't know how they're being brought up. You don't know, what they're teaching your kids. I can't do it. So I told myself, if I had to sacrifice these years of them being young in order to, make sure that, they get the proper education that I want them to get, then I'm going to do that, even if it requires me, like, having to do this type of work.
How about your mental health? How are you affected emotionally from this?
I'm not going to lie. I feel like I get depressed sometimes. I do. But I would say it's because I just have to leave my kids. Like, nobody wants to be out at 2 a.m. and, like, even though I know that they're safe and I know, like, their dad and I, that's another thing I'm grateful for. Their dad and I have such a great relationship that when I'm away, I can leave, in peace and just be good. But at the same time, like, who wants to be out on a date rather than at home with their kids,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that gets me depressed sometimes. But then, I have their dad too. Like, he knows what I do. I'm always on the phone with him too, like, just talking to him, letting him know what I have going on over here and what I'm up to, what I'm doing, this and that. And he does a really good job at being there for me and just, reminding me that this is just temporary and, I'm just doing what I have to do. And, he keeps me strong, and I'm very thankful for that. My friends do too. Like, I only have really 2 close friends that really know about my lifestyle, like, exactly how it is. And they help me a lot too. So I'm very grateful for my support system.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Chantel, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Most important lesson that I've learned in my life would be probably just to, always be your true, authentic self with everything, like every aspect and area of your life, whether, society deems it to be frowned upon or whatever. Like, you are here on your journey. Everyone's journey is not supposed to look the same. You just focus on your journey and, keep God first, and everything will be okay in the end.
It takes a lot of courage to do what you just did.
Right.
All right. Chantel,
do this, like,
do
the
this.
interview?
Yeah.
Right. No, seriously, because...
Especially in your shoes.
Yes, because I would never in a million years thought I would share my stuff. But, yeah.
You just did. All right, Chantel. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I wish you lots of luck with your kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.